the way that the Bible fixes getting it wrong is that the people who didn't do their due diligence, the people who lied or in the testimony, the people who were not just in the convicting of another person's life, the judgment that those people get is the judgment that happened to the person who was killed. So if you are a false witness, you get the punishment of the person. And it's not just in the death penalty, Jason, it's in everything. So if you're a false witness and someone is on trial for murder and you falsify your testimony and that's found out, not only does that person go free, but you now are in line for the death penalty because you deserve the judgment that you lied to get that person convicted of. And so when we have that kind of judicial system and that type of response to liars, then we start self-correcting, but we don't have those things yet, and we need to work closer towards that.
And so I think that it speaks volumes about how important fathers are in the home and how important men are and how they should be honored. And if they have the opportunity to do right by their children, a lot of times they will. And look what happens. You know, someone sent me a video of Michael Jackson saying how Joe Jackson was very strict. And they asked me what I thought about it. And I said, I'm sure Joe made mistakes. You know, parents, we do that. We aren't perfect. But I truly believe that there would be no Jackson 5 without Joe Jackson. Michael Jackson would not have been what we know him to have been. No Janet Jackson. I think that Joe Jackson played a very important role as a father in their lives, and look how successful they became. So I just think that this movie spoke just very highly of Richard, and I could appreciate it.
You know, the Panthers quarterback situation went from Sam to Cam to damn. That is bad. But here's the thing. What did we think we were getting? We're not going to party like it's 2015. You know, I did a deep dive into Cam Newton's statistical record here. And again, stats don't tell the whole story with this style of quarterback, but keep this in mind. He's had one 4,000-yard passing season in an era when the average is now about 4,300. That was his rookie year. He's only had 4 years of completion percentage at 60 plus or higher in an era when many quarterbacks are now 65. He's only had 1 year of 30 plus touchdown passes. 2015, his MVP, where he reached his apex, it was 35. This is what we are getting. And now I just read over Twitter that Christian McCaffrey, who is the heartbeat of that offense, who everything plays off of, and you could do stuff like the RPO, you can do the read option. Now that's gone.
I've talked to men all the time that say, you know, I'm pretty much married to a CME, meaning she only gives it up on Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. And I'll say, have you talked to her? Why don't you tell her how you feel? And he'll say, what's the point? You know, it's not going to change anything. And so I do feel like a lot of men are afraid to say how they really feel, not just about politics, but in everything. They have been, you know, conditioned to be silent. They have really taken their nuts and put them in a jar and put them on the mantle because they certainly aren't where they're supposed to be.
Seeing how they talk to black people who don't toe the Democratic line, or gay people who don't go Democratic line, or former feminists who decide they're going to go over to the other side and switch to the right. All you have to know about how much they actually care about all the victim groups they claim to care about is how they treat anyone who stops toeing the line. The second you stop toeing that line, you get treated worse than the people they already hated, because now you're a heretic. Now you're a traitor. That's what I try to tell people too about the left in this country. That's why I call them communists. There aren't separate groups of these people, Jason, as you already know. There isn't Black Lives Matter and Antifa and LGBTQ and the feminists. They're all the same group. They're all one group. They all believe the same ideology. They're just different brands. It's all McDonald's. It's just they have to sell quarter pounders and they have to sell chicken sandwiches because you never know what might appeal to some person. It's all cultural Marxism. It's all designed to wreck this country. And you can tell that because of how much they work together. Why is Antifa with Black Lives Matter anyway? Is there some kind of crossover there I'm not aware of? No. It's because they're both just street communist groups who are doing what the Democratic Party and the media wants.
Jamaica. Jim, this will probably get me in trouble for saying this, and so I want to apologize up front. Real good.
Man, I'm not lying. I know Thanksgiving just passed. Not damn, looking at Shamika make me hungry all over again.
This is a terrible conversation we're having.
Well, but let me go ahead and get back on track. Shamika made the comment, and she used the analogy CME.
Yeah.
What did that stand for?
Christmas, Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. Yeah.
And that's true. See, you ain't been married, man, but I'm gonna tell you something. I told you, with my first marriage, my wife and I made the agreement that we would only smoke after sex. Okay? So after 2 years of marriage, I was still on the same pack. This heifer up to 2 packs a day. So there is some validity to what Shamika's saying.
To me, it's no different than fast food. Every time I eat it, I know it's no good for me, but there is some enjoyment I derive from it. Sometimes it is fuel that I need to get me through the day, but just accept the overall fact, not really good for you. That's the best way to deal with Twitter. I don't know if we have, we're looking at what big tech did to Parler. I don't know if we're ever going to have a better option than Twitter. And so you just adjust your expectations and mindset and then use Twitter, and then it can be a somewhat effective tool for you.
That's right. I think at the end of the day, you hit the nail on the head. Twitter's not going away, and I think that every so often you see these attempts from conservatives and conservative organizations to try and kind of create your own Twitter. But the reality is, the discourse happens on Twitter, right? News gets broken on Twitter.
I think I'm exactly like you, man. I tend to think of our process as hopelessly broken. The only people who do it have some major character flaw, and so it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of a broken process, enriching people instead of solving the country's problems. But then I try to take that to heart, that despair really is a sin. And if you give up on things, then maybe you're not just giving your country over to the wolves, but you're also kind of, in an important way, I think, committing something that most of us don't want to commit, which is just giving up. And I decided that, at the end of the day, maybe our country does have some really unsolvable problems, but you don't really know if you can be a positive force until you make a run at it.
On the grace and truth side, I'm like Grace with Kanye.
Yeah, I know.
Now, he did say something like when I came to Christ, he said I was arrogant or whatever.
Yeah.
He's not been discipled. We've talked about this in the past, that you need people to walk with you eyeball to eyeball and heart to heart and help you to, they got to guide you, because it's just too hard to live this kind of life by yourself or with people who are just telling you what you want to hear. So now, I noticed yesterday that only like 900 people had watched that on YouTube. So it's not like a bunch of people watched it. I hope Kim watched it, because I think you're right, that was the intended audience.
Oh, I think he released it on Instagram, and a lot of more people watched it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But obviously he's floundering, but he's trying to do good at the same time. That's why I'm sympathetic to him.
Mark Lamont Hill is a beta male who has his nuts shoved in a pair of pink panties. There is no way that I would even acknowledge or think to listen to somebody, especially a man, who cannot say out of his mouth that a woman is the only person that can get pregnant. The fact that he came out about a year or so ago saying that, pregnant people, only a woman can get pregnant. I can't take him seriously for that alone. And I say all the time, Jason, there are two types of men. There's that man that says, oh, I wonder if she's gonna like this penis. And then you have the man that says, I know she want this. Mark Lamont Hill is the beta male that's wondering whether or not she wants this penis.
But you take a guy like Mark Lamont Hill, for example, who I know, and look, I got love for Mark, from brother to brother. But I think a lot of our men in society have fallen victim to a sexual selection psychology that has preempted us to gravitate towards beta male personas, beta male ideologies and moral compasses. And I think this part of this leftist movement is the Beta Project, right? And it's this unholy alliance between radical feminists and what I call like Loki characters, right? I say in my latest letter to Black America on Substack, Thor, the dominant alpha male, may trample your emotions in his own self-absorption, but Loki will stab you in the back when you least expect it. And I think a lot of these feminists, or this effeminate energy, is trying to protect its future iteration of authoritarianism, where they say if we can make cultural revolt lukewarm and we can make the men docile, then we don't have to worry about much violence when we take over and become tyrannical.
And you got to understand something. For the first time in my life, or in his career, I'm actually on AB's side. I don't have a problem with him providing a fake vaccination card. I don't think he's far from alone. 2 other guys got tagged with the same thing, the same 3-game suspension. It's pervasive throughout the NFL. Let's don't forget who Antonio Brown is, and let's don't smear who Aaron Rodgers is just because the media doesn't like him, and because the media feels misled by him, and because he doesn't get along with his parents, or some of his teammates think he's aloof. Those aren't crimes.
Because sometimes I like to, sometimes I will watch videos of these people without the sound on, and whether you're looking at them talking at abortion rallies or talking about the nuclear family, even without the sound, you can see the anguish, the seething hatred, the dissatisfaction with life just oozing out of their pores. So even in their own lives, they're not presenting a picture of life for themselves or family life that anybody should want to aspire to. I've never met or seen a radical feminist, a radical racialist, a radical queer theory practitioner who I would characterize as content or at peace. And really what I'm looking for the next generation, for my children's generation and my children's children and their children, is to be able to pass on to them something that will stand the test of time.
I want to apologize for calling you a coward and just say I disagreed with the joint statement, because I think Tammy Baldwin needs to release a statement that says she'll no longer participate in a party that is using race to divide this country and undermine our Constitution and a way of life that has served all of us quite well. So that's all I want to say. I'm going to let you go from there.
Well, first of all, Jason, I agree with 100% of what you just said. And you don't have to apologize. I mean, this is a rough and tumble business. Don't worry about it. You weren't aware of the fact that I was actually asked to help out. The people that had to deal with that horrific tragedy reached out to me on Friday. They were concerned that people might descend from both sides of the political spectrum, by the way. They were getting indications that people from both sides could descend on Waukesha, and they didn't know what kind of violence could ensue from that. So they just reached out and said, Senator, could you do something to help? And so, well, I could ask people not to do that. Maybe get Tammy Baldwin just to ask the same thing. So it was all about preventing violence.